Welcome back to our English Learning channel.
Happy to be here.
Today we're diving into something you told us you were really interested in.
Okay.
Learning new skills.
Uh-huh.
We've got some great tips and ideas to help you become a better learner no matter what you're trying to learn.
All right.
Or how old you are.
Yeah, that's right. The first thing we want to clear up
Okay.
is that you can learn new things at any age.
Okay.
It's never too late.
I love that. So many people think that once you're an adult, you can't pick up new skills.
Right.
That's just not true.
Exactly. It's
Well,
like saying our brains get full
Right.
and can't hold any more information.
Yeah.
Our brains are always changing and growing,
Uh-huh.
and we can always learn more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that myth is busted.
Yeah.
But why should we even bother learning new skills? What's in it for us?
Well, for one, it can help you get a better job or keep the job you have.
Okay.
The world is changing quickly,
Yeah.
and new skills are always in demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with all this talk about AI,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like everything is changing so fast.
It is. But instead of being scared,
Right.
we can learn about AI and use it to our advantage.
Okay.
It's a tool we can learn to use just like any other skill.
So learning new things helps us keep up with the times
Yeah,
and be more successful in our careers.
exactly. And it's not just about work.
Okay.
Learning new things can make you feel more confident and happy.
Yeah. It's a great feeling to learn something new and realize you can do something you couldn't do before.
Absolutely. So we know it's important,
Right.
but how do we actually become better learners? Well, there are 7 key strategies we can use.
7. Okay, let's hear them.
The first is setting clear goals.
Okay.
It's not enough to just say, I want to learn this.
Right.
You need to be specific about what you want to achieve and by when.
So instead of saying I want to learn Spanish, you might say I want to be able to order food in a Spanish restaurant in 3 months.
Perfect example. That's a clear, specific goal.
Yeah.
And it's helpful to write it down almost like a promise to yourself.
It's like setting a destination on a map. It gives you a clear direction to follow.
The second strategy is having a growth mindset.
Okay.
This means believing that you can improve your skills with effort and practice.
Okay.
You're not stuck with the abilities you have right now.
So even if you're a beginner at something, you don't give up.
Yeah,
You keep trying, and you believe you can get better.
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to learn to play the guitar.
Okay.
Even if you've never touched one before with a growth mindset,
Uh-huh.
you'll keep practicing knowing that you can improve.
It's like learning to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
You might fall a few times,
Mm-hmm.
but you keep trying because you know you'll eventually get it.
That's the power of a growth mindset.
Right.
And the third strategy is about active learning.
Okay.
It's not enough to just sit back and listen to someone talk about something.
Right.
You need to actively engage with the material.
So instead of just reading a book,
Yeah.
you might try explaining what you've read to someone else. Or if you're learning a new language, you might practice speaking with a native speaker.
Exactly. Active learning helps you remember things better and understand them more deeply.
The fourth strategy is to mix up your learning methods.
Okay.
Everyone learns differently, and what works for one person might not work for another.
That's right. Some people learn best by reading, others by listening,
Right.
and still others by doing things hands-on.
So if you're struggling to learn something with one method, don't be afraid to try something different.
Yeah.
Maybe watch a video instead of reading a book, or find a hands-on activity that helps you understand the concept better.
Exactly. The fifth strategy is to find a mentor or teacher.
Okay.
Learning from someone who's already skilled in what you want to learn can be incredibly helpful.
It's like having a guide to help you navigate the learning process.
Right.
They can offer advice, answer your questions, and keep you motivated.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
Most people are happy to share their knowledge and experience with others who are eager to learn.
That makes sense. The sixth strategy is to practice, practice, practice.
Uh-huh.
This one probably isn't a surprise. You
Right.
can't learn a new skill without putting in the time and effort.
That's right. And there are 2 main types of practice.
Oh, wait.
Rote learning is about repetition. It helps you memorize things like facts and vocabulary.
Oh, yeah.
Deliberate practice is more focused.
Huh?
You identify your weaknesses and work on them specifically.
So, for example, if you're learning a new language, you might use flashcards to memorize vocabulary words.
Yeah.
That's rote learning.
Mm-hmm.
But you also need to practice speaking and writing the language, which is deliberate practice.
Exactly. Both types of practice are important, but deliberate practice is especially helpful for mastering a skill.
And finally, the seventh strategy is to take breaks.
Okay.
I know this might sound counterintuitive,
Right.
but it's important to give your brain a rest.
That's right. When you take breaks, you come back to your learning feeling refreshed and more focused.
Okay.
You'll actually learn better in the long run.
So don't try to cram everything in at once. Give your brain a break,
Yeah.
and you'll be surprised how much more you retain.
Those are the 7 key strategies. They might seem simple, but they can make a big difference in how well you learn. Welcome back.
So we talked about 7 awesome strategies for learning anything.
Right?
We covered setting goals, having a growth mindset, active learning, mixing things up, finding mentors, practicing and taking breaks.
We covered a lot of ground, but there's another big piece to becoming a better learner.
Okay, what's that?
It's about your learning environment.
Okay.
Where and how you learn can make a big difference.
Yeah, I've definitely tried to study in noisy coffee shops, and it was a disaster.
Exactly. When you're trying to learn, you need to be in a place where you can focus.
So what makes a good learning environment?
Well, first, it needs to be quiet and free of distractions.
Okay.
This might mean finding a quiet room at home, going to the library,
Right?
or even just putting on noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah, I find that just putting my phone on silent makes a
Mm.
big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any little bit helps. Second, you want to make sure your learning space is comfortable.
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to focus.
Right. Like if your chair's too hard or the lighting is bad,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to concentrate.
Exactly. You might also want to personalize your space with things that inspire you.
Uh-huh.
Maybe some pictures, plants, or quotes that motivate you.
It's like making your learning space your own little sanctuary.
Exactly. And the third thing to consider is who you learn with.
Okay.
Learning with other people can be really helpful. You
Right.
can share ideas, get feedback, and support each other.
It's like having a built-in study group.
Exactly. And it's not just about learning with peers.
Right.
You can also learn a lot from mentors and teachers.
Yeah, having someone with more experience to guide you can be so valuable.
Uh-huh.
They can answer your questions and help you avoid common mistakes.
Right. So when you're thinking about your learning environment, consider the space, the people, and how you can create a supportive and inspiring atmosphere.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about things like getting enough sleep and exercising? Do those really affect how we learn?
Absolutely. Our physical health and our mental health are closely linked.
Okay.
When we take care of our bodies, our brains function better.
So if I'm pulling all-nighters and living on junk food, I'm not going to be learning at my best.
Probably not. When you're sleep deprived, it's harder to focus and remember information.
And when you're not eating well, your brain doesn't have the energy it needs to function properly.
Right. And exercise can actually improve blood flow to the brain, which helps you think more clearly.
Wow. I never realized how much my physical health could impact my learning.
It's really important.
So taking care of ourselves is like setting the foundation for being good learners.
Exactly. It's about creating the optimal conditions for our brains to thrive.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But what about staying motivated? Sometimes I get really excited about learning something new,
Yeah.
but then that excitement fades and I lose motivation. Any tips for dealing with that?
Of course. First, remember why you started learning this new skill in the first place. What are you hoping to achieve?
It's like remembering your destination.
Hmm.
If you don't know where you're going, it's easy to lose motivation along the way.
Exactly. Second, break down your learning goals into smaller steps. Don't try to do everything at once.
It's like climbing a mountain, one step at a time.
Right. And celebrating those small wins along the way can really help you stay motivated.
It's like giving yourself little rewards for making progress.
Exactly. And another great way to stay motivated is to find a learning buddy.
Oh,
Having someone to learn with can make a big difference.
yeah.
You can support each other, keep each other accountable, and celebrate each other's successes.
It's like having a partner in crime for your learning adventure.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, let's talk about procrastination.
Oh,
It's something we all struggle with from time to time,
right.
but it can really sabotage our learning goals.
Oh, yeah. Procrastination is the worst. It's like this little voice in my head saying you can do it later, even though I know I shouldn't.
Right. The first step to overcoming procrastination is to understand what triggers it.
Okay.
For some people, it's feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
For others, it's fear of failure or perfectionism.
So if I'm feeling overwhelmed by a big project, I might break it down into smaller, more manageable tasks.
Hmm.
And if I'm afraid of failing, I might remind myself that making mistakes is part of the learning process.
Exactly. And once you know your triggers, you can start developing strategies to deal with them.
Okay.
Another helpful tip is to create a schedule and stick to it. Block out specific times for learning, just like you would for an important appointment.
It's like making a commitment to yourself. And just like you wouldn't cancel on a friend. You don't cancel in your learning time.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something that can be a real game changer when it comes to learning new skills.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Technology.
Uh-huh.
It's an amazing tool that can help us learn in so many ways. There are online courses, language learning apps,
Yeah.
educational videos, and so much more.
It's like having a whole library of knowledge at your fingertips.
Exactly. And the best part is that a lot of it is free or very affordable.
Right.
So there's no excuse not to take advantage of these resources.
Right. And you can learn at your own pace, on your own time, from anywhere in the world. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. And don't forget about the power of social media for learning. You can connect with other learners, share ideas, and get support.
It's like having a global study group.
Now, let's wrap up this part of our conversation by talking about something that's essential for long-term learning.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's about making learning a habit,
Okay.
just like we brush our teeth every day.
Yeah.
We should make learning a regular part of our routine.
It's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment.
Right.
Even 15 or 20 minutes a day can make a big difference over time.
So instead of scrolling through social media for an hour, I could spend 20 minutes learning something new.
Exactly. Small changes can lead to big results over time.
So make learning a lifelong pursuit. Embrace the joy of discovery and never stop growing.
Beautifully said.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive on learning new skills.
It's been a great conversation so far.
We've talked about setting goals, creating a good learning environment,
Yeah,
staying motivated, and so much more.
I've covered a lot of ground.
But there are a few more things I want to touch on before we wrap up.
Sounds good.
First, let's talk about feedback.
Okay.
It's so important for growth, but sometimes it can be hard to hear.
It's true. Feedback can be tough, but it's how we learn and improve.
Yeah.
It helps us see things from a different perspective.
It's like having a coach who can point out our weaknesses
Yeah,
and help us get better.
exactly. And the key is to be open to feedback,
Mhm.
even if it's not always positive.
I know it can be hard to hear criticism,
Right.
but it's important to remember that it's not a personal attack.
Right. It's about helping you grow and develop your skills.
So how do we get good feedback?
Well, you can ask for it from teachers' mentors, friends, or even colleagues.
Right.
Just be specific about what you're looking for feedback on.
Like, can you tell me how I can improve my presentation skills?
Exactly.
What are some things I'm doing well, and what are some areas where I could improve?
Exactly. The more specific you are, the more helpful the feedback will be.
Okay.
And remember, feedback is a two-way street.
Oh, that's a good point.
Hmm.
It's not just about receiving feedback.
Uh-huh.
It's about giving it, too.
Absolutely. When you give feedback to others, you're helping them grow, and you're also deepening your own understanding of the topic.
So make feedback a regular part of your learning process.
Right?
Both giving and receiving.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Now let's shift gears and talk about something that's essential for lifelong learning.
Okay. What's that?
Curiosity.
Okay.
It's the fuel that drives us to learn and explore.
Yeah, when we're curious,
Mm-hmm.
we're eager to learn new things. We ask questions, we seek out information, and we're not afraid to challenge our assumptions.
Exactly. Curiosity helps us stay engaged and excited about learning.
So how do we cultivate curiosity?
Well, one way is to simply start paying more attention to the world around us.
Okay.
Notice things you find interesting and ask yourself why they are the way they are.
It's like becoming a detective of everyday life.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't be afraid to go down rabbit holes. Sometimes the most interesting discoveries happen when we follow our curiosity.
Another way to cultivate curiosity is to expose ourselves to new experiences.
Right. Travel to new places, read different types of books,
Yeah.
talk to people from different backgrounds. The more we expand our horizons, the more curious we become.
So embrace your inner child, ask questions, explore, and never stop learning.
Now let's address something that many people fear when it comes to learning:
What's that?
making mistakes.
Oh.
It's often seen as a negative thing, but in reality, it's an essential part of learning.
I know it can be frustrating to mess up,
Mm-hmm.
but you're right. It's how we learn and grow.
Think about how you learned to ride a bike.
Okay,
You probably fell a lot, but you got back up and kept trying.
that's a good point.
Mistakes are like feedback.
Uh-huh.
They tell us what we need to work on.
Exactly.
Mm.
And they help us refine our skills and get better over time.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace them as opportunities to learn and improve.
Everyone makes mistakes, even the experts.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Learning is a lifelong journey.
It's not something we do just in school or at work.
Right.
It's something we can do every day.
The world is constantly changing, And to keep up, we need to be lifelong learners.
So stay curious, stay open to new experiences, and never stop growing.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on learning new skills.
My pleasure. I hope our listeners found it helpful.
I'm sure they did.
Hmm.
And to our listeners out there, if this conversation benefited you, then please subscribe and leave a simple like and comment what you think